Ever wonder why some people in Boston say, park the car, instead of park the car? The roots of that accent go back a ways, all the way to East Anglia, a part of England somewhat northeast of London, and which bulges out a bit into the North Sea. From there, many English immigrants holding to Puritan faiths and ideas emigrated to Massachusetts in the 17th century, putting a lasting stamp not only on cultural values, but linguistic ones as well. On May 2nd, at the First Congregational Church in Manchester, during the final First Wednesday's lecture until the series resumes in the fall, historian David Hackett Fisher explains.
They also had a very special way of speaking, and it's called by English linguists the Norfolk whine, And whine doesn't quite describe it. What describes it is pack your car. It's very similar to this accent that has developed in New England today.
In 1989, Fisher finished a historical work titled Albion Seed, which traces 4 distinct groups of immigrants from the British Isles who began arriving in colonial-era America in the 17th century and who have left an imprint on the culture of what eventually became the United States that still persists, and in some ways was vividly on display during the 2016 presidential election. The 4 groups, the Yankee Puritans who settled in New England, the Cavaliers, or supporters of King Charles I, who was eventually deposed and beheaded, who settled in Virginia, the Quakers, who settled in and around Pennsylvania, and the Scots-Irish, who settled in what we now call Appalachia, all poured into the new colonies in the decades before the Revolutionary War, bringing with them different ideas of what constituted political freedom and liberty. Those views have retained a remarkable regional hold and influence.
And then what I try to do in my book is develop all of this to get measures for all of these various different patterns, and then to ask what difference it made in America today. And I think it really had a major impact on our politics. We can see these different cultures in head-on collisions in many of our political debates. They had very different ideas of liberty and freedom. They all believed, all 4 of these groups believed very deeply in liberty and freedom. But in New England, it was the liberty, they actually defined freedom as the rights of belonging to other free people. Freedom meant connections to groups of free people. And then in the southern backcountry, they were more interested in the traditional idea of liberty as separation, of living apart, of being in control of their own individual lives. And there was a kind of dramatic contrast, I think most of all, between New England on the one hand and people in the Southwest on the other.
Afterwards, Professor Fisher, who was working along with his wife on a new book about the influence that African peoples have had on American culture, talked with us about how he became interested in the entire subject and some thoughts since the book was first published nearly 30 years ago.
I think that it happened in my Maryland family, where we had 3 of the 4 Folkways represented, and then I married a Yankee to complete the set. And so I think some of it grew in that way, I would say. First of all, I'm always rethinking and talking about it, and it does change a lot, I think, as I reflect. But I think there are some things that I am unrepentant about, like the importance of it's not so much founders in the sense of the founder effect, but it's that there were these critically important groups early on, and I think they have a very long reach. So the more I learn, the more evidence I see of that. I think there are other problems that I'm still scratching my head over the Quakers. Why did they fall by the wayside, so to speak, in terms of their reach on American politics, when many of us, I think, are more disposed to find things very attractive in the way they thought about it? I think that's a real puzzle, and I don't know the answer to that question. But the Quakers are interesting and challenging that way.
For the GNAT-TV News Project, I'm Andrew McKeever.